What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Crowncast. It's been a bit. We had some
It has
issues.
been wild.
Do we want to talk about it, Logan?
Well, sometimes when you put music in your YouTube videos, you get like a copyright strike.
Supposed to be royalty-free music, just to be clear. We're not
I was
stupid.
just supposed to tag it in the description, which I did. We've had some troubles uploading. One time mainly Dawson edited for like 2 hours, and then we went to go upload it, and then it wouldn't upload. It was stuck at like 60%. We tried it like 3 times. Didn't work, and by that time, it was old news.
Yeah, I mean, we've been wanting to make videos again, but it just felt like there was some behind-the-scenes stuff we had to work on, get back into the swing of it.
And our big thing is we don't want to just rush and upload and have it like not be high quality that we want.
Like, let's be real here. Our quality is fluctuating a bit at times, but you know, we try our best. So, but yeah, and then of course last week we both ended up with the flu, so that kind of derailed our plans of making a video last week.
That was not a fun time. Influenza A sucks.
Influenza B ain't much better.
But on the other side,
let's talk some football.
We have seen a lot of good football.
Good and bad. Do we want to start with the bad, Logan?
I mean, I don't want to start with it, but I mean, I guess we can because that's.
I mean, start at the bottom, get to the top.
How in the world
right?
did they not make the playoffs? We're talking about the Colts here. That's my team.
If you've watched our videos, you know Logan's diehard Colts fan. In October, we went to a game versus the Titans. It was a really good game,
which they lost.
They did lose
in overtime,
but it was a good game.
Mm-hmm.
God, you had to beat the worst team in the NFL. The worst. They have the number 1 draft pick.
On Christmas, they beat the Cardinals.
Yeah.
In their past 10 games before that, including that game, they were 8-2.
They also beat the Patriots the week before.
And the Bills.
The week before that.
They lost a tight game to the Buccaneers.
Yep.
So, I mean...
Who's the 2 seed in the NFC? And the NFC is wild.
They did lose a close game versus the Raiders, which came like the last second.
Which, you know, you hate to see it. That feels like one they could have won. They could have really won that game, but...
So, just today's the 13th, Chris Ballard...
GM.
Yep. Pretty much had like a press conference and pretty much made it very clear that he was not happy.
Yeah. Do you have the direct quote?
I do not. I was trying to find it on Twitter, on Pat McAfee's, but
man, he buried Carson Wentz, man. He really did not
he's like, this is a passing league, and what did he said something about.
Well, the direct quote is this, right? It's, at the time we felt like it was the right decision. I'm not going to make a comment on who is and who isn't going to be here next year. And that's on Carson Wentz, their quarterback.
Yes,
obviously.
he did say good things about Frank Reich.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But we've talked about with Reich how he just calls very conservative plays when you need big plays. It just seems weird. Like, obviously you trust the guy you hired, right? And Frank Reich has history with Wentz, so maybe that was why Wentz was brought in. But, I mean, honestly, what's your thoughts on Wentz? Because I'd like to pick your brain on that. Like, right now, where do you stand?
See, here's the thing. I know Chris Ballard, and I know he's like very high on the draft. Obviously, we don't have a first-round pick because we gave it to the Eagles for Carson Wentz. So, obviously, that one kind of stings. But here's my thing. If you look at I've always kind of like been not very like a good like numbers guy, right? But it was on the Christmas game, and there was a stat, and I don't know the exact stat, but it was pretty self-explanatory. When Jonathan Taylor ran the ball for more than 100 yards, we were undefeated.
I mean, that's as simple as it gets, right?
We were like 8-0.
Sure.
When Carson Wentz threw the ball more than 35 times, we didn't win a single game. That stat does not lie.
That means you're losing by your quarterback's arm, on your arm of your quarterback, basically. How else do you want? Like, maybe you're painting a narrative that way, but...
But here's the thing. At the beginning of the year, what was the talk? Can Carson Wentz stay healthy?
The other talk was, if he does stay healthy, can he perform?
Can he be the MVP like he was with the Eagles that one year?
Like, in that conversation, yeah.
Right.
Can he be the guy?
Now, if you look at his stats, they're not terrible.
Yeah,
His his touchdown interception ratio,
decent,
not terrible.
Decent.
You know, but there's just nothing that like sticks out to you that's like, yeah, he's the quarterback of the future for that team.
Well, and you ask yourself, like, he's how old, right? Like, he's
29.
I would say he's probably pushing 30. You don't have a number 1 overall draft pick, so who's the better quarterbacks? Like, it is.
And this
that
is
question.
a quarterback, like not a quarterback draft this year.
No. Kenny
This
Pickett.
is a positional, like, safety, like offensive lineman, defensive lineman, like
D lineman. I wouldn't be shocked if 2 edge rushers go back to back in Aiden Hutchinson and Kevon Thibodeau.
right.
But like, Wentz was 27 for 7 this year on touchdown to interception and throw for 3,600 yards almost. That's not a bad season at all. But then you look at the numbers in games they lost, right? And it just seems like the Colts are very one-dimensional right now.
Very one-dimensional.
Nobody fears their passing game. And then you could argue, is it all Carson's fault? Look at the players he has around him. T.Y. is a ghost of himself.
But he's also, they don't know if he's going to return next year. That's already been the talk, him and Doyle.
Well, that's it. Like, and Doyle's on a contract year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and Jack Doyle's been a face in Indianapolis for a while now. He's spent his whole career there. He's been decent. He's a great blocking tight end, but he's not the weapon you want. Do you know what I mean? Like, when is it time to start looking at, like, okay, we need to draft a wide receiver 1 or 2 overall, like, with our picks in the draft? Like,
Well, if you look at it, and everyone's like,
or a tight end.
clearly Pittman was the guy, right?
Absolutely, but
if you look at this stat, you're like, that's it? He was a number 1 wide receiver. He had 2 games this year where he had over 100 yards.
exactly.
Just 2. That is brutal.
Think about the top wide receivers in the NFL right now, like numbers-wise. Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Jefferson with the Vikings, Deebo Samuel. Those are guys who are putting up almost 100 yards total offense every game.
Every game. But you look at Pittman and his targets, and T.Y. was obviously like technically like the wide receiver too.
And he was hurt for a lot of the season.
Right. But who's the third guy?
Josh Doolin.
I mean, there is such a big gap there. It is almost like astonishing.
It's, yeah. And Paris Campbell's not playing out. Doolin is a deep threat, but like
His
hands are questionable.
He's almost like a Deshaun Jackson that's going to get you like a big 70-yard, or he's just going to drop everything.
Yeah, but Deshaun Jackson was elite at doing
I wasn't
that.
trying to like compare the
No,
two.
I know, but
No,
you're saying like that kind of player. I get
I know
what you're saying.
Doolin is not any.
Let's not. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But here's another thing. I'm a Colts fan. Obviously, we just
Sure.
we saw what happened to Andrew Luck. Okay,
Injuries derailed his career.
injuries, and we didn't build a team around him quick enough, right?
You didn't invest in O-linemen.
So
That's a real
now
problem for them
we have
and him.
a stud of a running back,
Literally, arguably the best running back.
Who
No,
is-
maybe not. I mean, but yes,
probably 1 or 2.
A1, A2. Yeah, like
Both in the AFC South.
yeah.
But I mean,
Of course, we're talking about Dante Foreman of the Titans.
oh yeah, yeah.
And
Dude's a baller though.
oh, he is good. I like him. Like from a non-Colts fan perspective, he's good. But anyway,
The
no.
offensive line crapped the bed for the past 2 weeks.
Oh, they definitely did.
They're so. I mean, all year they were hit or miss.
Yeah, and you have such a decent offensive line even outside of Quentin Nelson.
Yeah,
Like
Ryan Kelly.
Ryan Kelly, the center, I forgot his name. Kind of looks like Quentin Nelson. But he's been good too. And so you look at the players on that line and you're like, "Oh, damn, that should be a top 5 offensive line in football." But they're a top 5 offensive line 1 out of every 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
So look at the pack. Like people are like, "Oh, injuries kind of hurt them." And yeah, but look at the Packers. Like I'm a Packer fan.
Yeah, but we didn't have our offensive line there in the Cardinals game. We still won.
I know.
So it's like,
But like before this season, You may not even still know him, but Yosh Nijman,
Heard
left
of him.
tackle. He's been filling in for Bakhtiari all year. He's one of Pro Football Focus's top-ranked tackles. And he's a backup. I mean, like, good old linemen, you can find them.
Mm-hmm.
And the Colts have a good offensive line.
They do, and I don't
And
think they really want to change anything besides maybe depth. You know what I mean?
I think what the problem is that teams are not afraid of the pass game when they play the Colts.
Mhm.
What do you have to fear? Carson Wentz makes stupid mistakes when he's not under pressure at times, too.
Right.
So, like, yeah, he's a good quarterback sometimes, but it's when he makes those mistakes. Like that Colts game in overtime, he threw it to nowhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, or the Titans game.
Mm-hmm.
When teams are not afraid of your pass attack, they can stack the box, they can send blitzers, and they can ruin a good offensive line's day. It's probably exactly like I didn't watch a lot of the last two Colts games, to be honest with you, but that's kind of how it played out.
Well, the thing was for the Jags game, right? Is the Jags pretty much rush four guys every play because they knew that like if they didn't let Jonathan Taylor do anything, that they would have to have Carson Wentz throw the ball, and then he throws 2 picks, and he gets sacked 6 times.
Yeah, it's just not. It's unsustainable for the Colts to lean on Taylor constantly. Think about this, right? Taylor had 15 attempts for 77 yards. Not a bad average. It's 5 yards a carry, just about. He had 3 receptions in that game too. But in games they won against Arizona, he had 108 yards. Against New England, he had 170. Houston, 140. Buffalo, 185. The Jets, 172. Those are good games. And against the Jets, he did average 9 yards a carry. Like, that's crazy. Those are good numbers. Don't be one-dimensional as a football team. You can talk about all the teams that are not one-dimensional as football teams, and I can think of all of them right off the top of my head, and they're the best teams.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Packers, the Buccaneers, the Rams. Those are teams that can run the ball. Rams maybe not as much. Their run game is questionable sometimes. Getting Akers back for the playoffs, though. That'll be fun to see how he does this weekend.
Yeah, I think he played last game too.
Yeah, he did a little
bit.
bit. He didn't get full workload,
Yeah.
but I don't think they're going to give it to him anyway. Henderson's been solid for them, so
Henderson has been solid.
why would you force that on a guy who just got back from a torn ACL in record time, basically?
One last thing about the Colts.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know we've been talking about him like this all the time.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to. But yeah, moving on though, like with the Colts, what do you got?
This is the thing. I know there's going to be a lot of people that may think that the Colts are going to get rid of him. They're not. I don't see it happening. I think they put too much on the table.
You gave up a first-round pick. It's like giving up on a first-round draft pick.
You know?
You know what I mean?
But I do think that he's on a very, 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 very thin. He's on thin ice.
Wouldn't be shocked if you see the Colts draft a guy in the 3rd round
Mm-hmm.
and let him compete for the job. Let's be real here. If he shows up to camp and he's just kicking ass, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
What do you have to lose? The only thing you have to lose by not starting Carson is cap, because he's going to get paid, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's that's the problem. Is the Colts have now locked themselves into his contract.
Unless they trade him, which I don't see.
Who is trading for him?
That's the thing.
It is going to be a quarterback needy year because the draft is bad and there's guys who are probably going to lose their jobs. Pittsburgh is going to need a quarterback.
But here's another thing, though. I mean, yeah, we do crap on Carson Wentz, like
Sure.
rightfully so.
Yeah.
But name a guy that's gonna
Well, that's
do
what
better.
I mean. Like,
You know what I mean?
Who takes that spot and does better? Jimmy Garoppolo? Nah, I don't know. I don't know about that. And then look at the numbers. What did Garoppolo do this year for numbers, right? So I think you really need to focus on weapons in this draft. Don't focus on defense, which seems to be what Ballard likes to do.
Yeah, he does.
He really does seem to lean on the
He
defense.
he loves his pass rushers.
Yes. They drafted
Kwity
Paye last year, who, by the way, great game against Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, it is – you need weapons. Tight ends, wide receivers, H-backs, somebody who can get out of the backfield and make big plays. Nyheim Hines, very athletic, very fast, very good pass-catching back. scheme up some more stuff for him so that Taylor can get rest and you can kind of get him on the field. You have Marlon Mack. We've talked about this before. His usage is in question. I think they're done with him after this year.
I do believe so.
So,
yes.
I mean, it makes sense. And especially now that they're out of the playoffs, he's probably going to either get traded or cut. I mean, why would you hold on to him? And someone will pick him up, and he'll be great for them, I'm sure. The Colts right now, there's a lot up in the air, and you have to wonder what's next for the Colts.
The biggest thing I will say that I think Ballard knows is that they're a couple key positional players away from being a very, very, very good football team. So I think the worst thing to do was hit the panic button.
Absolutely.
Which would be trade Carson Wentz.
The problem is now that he's put himself in a corner with his statements today. And that was the 13th of January, 2022, which, by the way, Happy New Year, everybody. Forgot to mention that
Merry
at the top of the show. Yeah, Merry Christmas, too. But you can't say that about your star quarterback, or your quarterback. I guess I wouldn't call him a star quarterback right now, but you can't do that because it's going to hurt his confidence. It's going to show the organization as a whole that you have less faith in him, and you're saying, yeah, I made a mistake, basically. So, like, what starting quarterback wants to hear the owner of their team, or GM rather, of the team,
right,
say, yeah, I've effed up, and I shouldn't have traded him for him. That hurts. That doesn't help his confidence as a player at all.
Yeah.
Especially coming off a horrible season with the Eagles, and where he
and Ballard did throw himself under the bus for Frank Reich.
Yeah.
So he literally said, like, I don't have the exact quote, but pretty much it was like, this one's not on Frank Reich, this one's on me. So that right there is like, okay, well, obviously they're not going to get rid of Frank Reich.
No, and I mean, how long has Frank Reich been the coach? A few years, right? 3 or 4?
I think it's 1 or 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, but so the Colts are right now in a week. Like I said, he's pushing 30. So they brought in Rivers. Rivers retires. They had a bad season last year. Not bad, but not.
Yeah, still made the playoffs, but I mean,
it wasn't like nobody really thought they were going to make a push, right? They're kind of like the Steelers
also,
last year.
Starting 1-4 for the Colts wasn't exactly the best start. And also, one fact. So the Titans and the Packers are the number 1 seed, obviously.
Yep.
We held more leads.
Yeah, more minutes in the lead
than the Packers and the Titans.
Yeah.
And we didn't make the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a whole lot more we can really say about the Colts, but I mean, long story short is they're going to have a very long offseason.
A lot of different things to see what happens. In the draft is... See, that's the thing is these are teams now that look to the draft, right? And they look to free agency to figure out what's going on. Maybe bring in a new offensive lineman. Maybe there's a couple wide receiver. I'm not sure what the free agency market looks like this year, but a lot of teams are going to be over the cap. So guys like Michael Thomas, you might see them get moved. He didn't get to play this year. And obviously Sean Payton's frustrated with him. Whether you like his personality or not, great player. That would be a guy the Colts should get. I mean, granted, I think he just signed an extension, so I'm not sure what that looks like for them.
Yeah, we don't know what the Saints are doing.
Not sure. Their quarterback situation is interesting to watch, too. So, and like we were talking about with the draft, Kenny Pickett's the consensus number 1 quarterback, but he couldn't still go outside the first round.
Yeah.
You could see, Panthers need a quarterback, and they're probably the earliest team that's going to be looking at quarterback. I don't think Detroit takes a quarterback in the early round.
I don't think so.
At number 2, that makes no sense. Honestly, if I'm Detroit, I'm either taking Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau, or I'm moving back. Because there's teams that'll move up and give up a good haul to move back. If you can get 3 first-round picks, like 2 this year, move back and get another one next year and maybe a second or something, or a third, you take that if you're Detroit. And I think Dan Campbell and their front office probably knows that. But we know there's quarterback needy teams, but what's the reach? Are we going to see a quarterback needy team go the route of Mitch Trubisky or Daniel Jones, guys who had one good season in college and they just kind of reached? Maybe. I like Matt Corral out of Ole Miss, but he's got a big arm. He's athletic. It's kind of guy you like to see, but again, does that translate to the NFL? Because there's so many guys who have all these traits, but it doesn't
Right.
matter. Uh, Truth be told, you look at the teams and you go, okay, sure, there's great quarterbacks, not great quarterbacks in this class, but there's been mediocre quarterbacks in college who become the best players
Yeah.
at the position in NFL history. Brady. I mean, you can say system quarterback or whatever. He's still top 5 in the NFL right now, whether you love him or hate him, and I
Right.
hate him so. I mean, let's be real here. Brady was a 6th-round pick.
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew is good, and he's a 6th-round pick. Like, I think Minshew's actually very solid.
Oh yeah, that man's maybe
And he
he
loves football.
maybe he won't be like a starter, but he's a definite backup somewhere.
He loves football. You watch him get, like, when he had his first start when he won for the Eagles this year, he loves football. And that's a guy you want in your locker room. He really is. He's an interesting guy, but
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of guy who wins your team over. And he's not terrible. He's really not.
No.
That could be a guy you bring in if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers or maybe even the Saints, depending on what you feel about Jameis coming back. Like, we'll see.
I think that the Saints derailed Jameis.
I think so too, but the NFL is so weird. Turnover on injuries is
Dude, what about the Dolphins head coach getting fired?
So let's get into that. Let's talk about coaches being fired. So right now, I think there's 6 or 7 openings for head coach. Joe Judge just got fired yesterday. David Culley today, the Texans head coach. Judge needed to go.
Yes.
He was horrible.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they're sticking with Daniel Jones next year. So whoever they bring in, we're going to see a different scheme for Jones. And if he doesn't pan out, then I think he's done in New York.
Yeah.
So that's big. I thought Culley getting fired was kind of weird, and I posted that on our Facebook
Yeah.
page. There was people, myself included, who didn't think they were going to win a game this year, and they won 4 with a really bad, banged up roster.
I mean, they're literally restarting.
It like ground up basically. They moneyball the roster together this year, and I mean, granted, Moneyball the movie went a little bit better than their season did, but
Yeah.
like it not a lot of talent to go around, and
No.
he still managed to win 4 games. It just baffles me that they fired him after 1 season.
Yeah, it was really weird. Unless they have like a person in mind that they want.
Well, and I think that there's a chance you see a younger coach come in, maybe a coordinator or college coach who's looking to make the leap to the league, wants to make that name for themselves outside of college, especially with the NIL deals in college. A lot of coaches are not happy about that.
Yeah.
Do you see Lane Kiffin? He was really upset when all this stuff was going on. He's like talking about how schools are buying players out and things like that. This is not great for
Well, the thing
college
is like,
football,
for
they say, but
example, like
I don't think it's
Barstool was in some heat with that number 1 recruit because he went with Deion Sanders.
and Dion's on their show, one of their shows.
One of their shows, and then Barstool writes his kid a big fat check, and it's like, okay, well, obviously, put 2 and 2 together.
You can buy prospects now is the thing.
Yeah.
So that's the problem with that coaches are having. So you could see a lot of these good college coaches make the leap. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the NIL stuff yet. Maybe there needs to be more regulations with it. But like, I do like that you'll see good players go to different schools instead of well, Alabama's my best chance at the NFL, so I guess I'm just going to go to Alabama. You know what I mean? That's kind of how it's been for years.
Yeah.
Those SEC schools get all this, they get bankrolled money, they do.
Yeah.
And they probably were paying prospects illegally anyway.
Who do you think? What team stands out to you for like an opening for a head coach? Like if you're a head coach right now and you're looking for a job, Denver.
That's if I'm Brian Flores, a guy who's known for being a defensive coach. Look at the Miami's defense this year. Solid, very good. I want Denver. Why? Think about all the young talent that roster has on its defense, especially its DBs. Dude, you can work with that. You can love that. And if he wants to bring Tua, if he likes Tua, you can probably trade him to the, but if he really likes Watson, which is the rumor.
That is the rumor.
And
And
the
the rumor is that
is that he loves Watson.
he wanted Watson, but I think the Dolphins are sticking to Tua for now.
That sounds that way. Here's my thing. if he wants Watson, Denver is the best place for both of them. Denver has wide receivers. They've got Tim Patrick. They've got Jerry Jeudy. They've got Cortland Sutton.
Tim Patrick.
Noah Fant at tight end. He's a weapon. He really is. Those guys have never had a good quarterback thrown to them. Teddy's okay, but he's kind of Carson Wentz-y, but worse almost. And Drew Lock is like, you get the best version of Drew Lock and the worst version of him all the time. He's too inconsistent. You bring in Watson to the Broncos, I think that makes them a contender immediately. And I think Flores knows that. That's my most... Like, if I'm a head coach in the NFL right now, I want Denver. That's the job I want.
So what about the least?
Houston.
Houston?
Yes, absolutely. Because they are rebuilding. We're just talking about how they started from scratch. I mean, what do you think?
I would agree with Houston. I guess, like, what would be the second worst? I guess would that be the Chicago?
It depends. How do you feel about Justin Fields? How do you feel about that offensive line that's horrible? You got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy are gone. So who's your GM? Who is the Hallis family going to bring in, right, to fill the void at coach and GM? Because whoever my GM is, I want to know that they're going to work with me and have a similar idea.
Mm-hmm.
Fields didn't have a horrible season. I don't like him personally. I think he's fine. He's probably the best Ohio State quarterback in a long time, which is not saying much. But, like, Chicago's very much... it's an interesting job. And honestly, if I'm talking another least exciting job, I'd talk New York. That'd probably be my second one. The Giants, not a lot of... Well, they have wide receivers. They have roster talent, but I don't really know if I want to coach there.
Right.
Like, it's the big city. It's a draw, right? East Coast, West Coast teams get all the extra oomph from coaches and players. That's just what happens. But Joe Judge was horrible. I mean, he was horrible. And so, like, I went on a diatribe about how much I don't like Daniel Jones and I don't think he's a good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Like I said, we'll see.
Yeah.
Different coach comes in and it's still the same, then maybe it wasn't Judge. I still think it's Judge, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, Judge was... Yeah, he was awful. One team that stands out for me, if you're an offensive-minded coach,
sure,
not so much defense, would be the Vikings.
Yeah, so that's another favorable one. I'd probably put that as my second most favorable location. And as a Packer fan, I hate that.
Right.
But, like, look at the players you have to work with.
Yeah, they have studs on offense,
Yeah.
you know. I'm not sure how much they have studs on defense. I think their defense is kind of like mediocre, but, like...
It's like a top 20, and it's not top 10.
But I know their offense, like Dalvin Cook, like you got Justin Jefferson, you got Adam Thielen. I mean, yeah, obviously you have to deal with Kirk Cousins, but I mean,
yeah, but even then, you could still draft his replacement, bring in someone like Gardner Minshew, and I'm very high on Gardner Minshew, so I bring him up a lot. But I really think that that's a good option because he is an athlete. He is a guy who wants to win. He loves football, and I love those kind of guys. I love guys who will say, you know what, F it all. I love football. I just want to win. They may not always be the best players, but you got to respect that. That's a drive. That's a want to win, and I think Minshew has that.
Yeah.
You know, but Kirk is owed a lot of money, and that's the problem.
He do.
So whoever comes in there is stuck with him for at least another season.
Yeah.
That's not to say, you know, it won't work out. He had a good season. Like, I can hate on him all I want. But he did have a good season for the most part. I mean, who wouldn't with the weapons he's got?
Yeah.
But, like, that's probably my secondary option because I think Denver's just especially for a guy who's a defensive coach, is definitely the favorite.
Yeah, defensive coach, probably Broncos. Offense, probably Vikings.
Definitely.
Honestly.
Yeah.
So I guess we're just...
But because Zimmer and their GM got fired too, which was kind of a shock. I forget what his name was, but
I do not know.
Yeah, the Vikings GM was also canned, which was kind of weird because he brought in some really good talent. Like Jefferson, Cook, Thielen.
I mean, those two right there. I mean, you can
that
just stop the
that
conversation.
trio is pretty elite. And honestly, Tyler Conklin in the back half of the season at tight end played very well for
Yeah,
them.
he wasn't doing terrible.
So, like, weird choice, when you think about the talent he brought in, but the defensive decisions that they made, questionable. And a lot of the guys they brought in, they ended up having to get rid of. Gladney got released because he's like a psychopath.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with their defense going forward.
I was going to add the Raiders, but I guess that's not really.
I think Bisaccia keeps that job.
That's what I was going to.
Because there's been no word on if they're gonna be in that conversation.
I mean, right now his team's in the playoffs. So
Right.
I mean, they won 4 straight.
I think that's the thing is like they're not gonna say anything until playoffs are over.
Yeah.
The rumor that Harbaugh could be coaxed out of college, I don't think it's true. He just had his best season with Michigan. They got their asses handed to him against Georgia. Ouch, hurts. But they're saying he could be coaxed out of.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one for me to swallow. I don't think I see that.
I don't buy that, but it would be weird to see. What's the other coaching jobs that are open right now? I forget. So you got possibly the Raiders, right? You got Broncos, Vikings, Giants, Jaguars, old Herb's team.
I'm not gonna. I don't.
What coach is gonna put their finger up to get that job?
Man,
Uh,
couldn't be me.
You know what though? That's a young squad. That's a very young, unheralded squad. They're gonna get ETN back.
Yep.
You could see like potential in that job, and I know there's a lot of coordinators in the NFL. Packers OC Nathaniel Hackett, who's drawn a lot of attention for jobs, is interviewing for that job. LaFleur's like, I would hate to lose him, but I'm not gonna. Right now, my focus is on the divisional round.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
and I'm sure that's Hackett's too. But like, you could see a lot of those OCs move along. The thing that scares me about that is Rodgers loves Nathaniel Hackett, and if he leaves, I don't think Rodgers comes back.
No.
I really don't. I really think that would be the nail in the coffin for the Pack. But, and after we saw from Jordan Love against the Lions, I don't know if I'm ready for that.
So
he needs another year, okay? But no. Yeah, the coaching situation in the NFL is a really hot topic right now. But speaking of wild card weekend, we made it to the playoffs.
we are here.
We are here. This is legit. So this weekend you've got a couple different good matchups.
So the first one on Saturday is Raiders Bengals.
Yeah, so it really depends on which Raiders team shows up.
That's a good point.
The Raiders are the Jekyll and Hyde of the NFL right now. Because one week they're losing horribly, and then the next they're kicking the crap out of teams they probably shouldn't be beating.
Yeah.
That Chargers-Raiders game, though, was like a classic game.
Did you see the end of the game
Yeah, I did.
where the head coach
called a
calls the
timeout.
timeout, and that everyone on the Raiders sideline is like, "Did he seriously just do that?"
Looks
Like
real confused.
they were just gonna like run the ball, and then they were gonna end the game,
Yeah.
and then they drew up another play, ran it, got like 15 yards, went into field goal range, and kicked a game winner.
Yeah, if they don't call that timeout, I think that's game.
That's literally what the Raiders head coach said.
So, I mean, like, here's a funny story I saw. So, Tomlin, Steelers head coach, is like,
Yeah.
I didn't watch the game. I was in bed. He's like, I went to sleep. Like, your playoff berth is on the line. You're like, nah, it's time for sleep. It's too late for that. This game's too late. I'm tired. I mean, I coached a game today. It's whatever. No, but like, if they tie,
You don't
make the playoffs.
You don't make the playoffs.
And they shouldn't. And speaking on that, Roethlisberger's comments yesterday.
Oh man, that was funny.
That was hilarious. I gotta wonder what's going through that guy's head right now. Because boy, oh boy, let me see if I can pull up the quote here real quick.
Yeah, what did he say? It was like they're double digit non-favorite. So the spread's 12.5 for Kansas City. That's
And
the
honestly,
only double digit
yeah,
spread.
yeah. The Eagles would be the next closest at 8.5.
8.5.
And I like the Eagles at 8.5. Just talking betting odds, but So here's one of the quotes, because you did say the other one, which is that they were like, well, we're 13-point underdogs. Like, yeah, probably right, you know? But he's like, as a group, you understand that we probably aren't supposed to be here. We're probably not a very good football team. Out of 14 teams, I think we're probably number 14. We don't have a chance, so let's just go in there and have fun. I mean, what more do you want out of the guy? Like, at least he's honest. But
And the thing is like you don't see any other Steelers players like bashing him for that, like
and the media hasn't really either, because I think everyone knows it's true. And they got beat bad by
I
the
mean, think
Chiefs
about
earlier.
it. Think about it. If you didn't see any of like the numbers, who are you gonna pick? Chargers or Steelers for the playoffs? Like if you just off the top of your head, you'd probably pick Chargers. Colts or Steelers?
I'd take the Colts.
You're like, Colts. And then you're like,
Ravens, Steelers. I'd probably take the Ravens, even though they just beat them.
and it's like, well, just kidding. The Steelers are in it.
Yeah.
Like what?
Like everything had to go right for them too.
Dude,
You know, like
if they lose that game or they tie, the Colts are in the playoffs right now.
yeah, I know. And it was close to a tie.
Dude, everything happened for the Colts besides the Steelers won.
Yep.
Besides, obviously, the Colts lost. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously.
that too.
Obviously.
Who
Who do you got, Raiders or Bengals?
I'll take the Bengals, man. That offense is legit. Showtime, Joe time, baby. Like, I mean, I love Joe Burrow. Watching him play is fun. It really is. I think they have the juice, but we'll see. Raiders got Waller back. That offense is. Shoot, Jacobs had his best game of the season in the biggest game for them. So we'll see. But it is gonna. I think it might be a shootout. I think you'd be looking at the over in that game. Possibly.
Definitely the over.
Yeah.
I see a lot of passing.
But Max Crosby can disrupt a game. People don't talk about him enough as how good he is. He really is a great rusher of the pass. Pass rusher. And you get in Joe Burrow's face, he can make mistakes. We saw that when they played Cleveland earlier in the season. So we'll see. But I think the Bengals. If I'm picking, I'm going Bengals -5.5. I think that's the line, or 4.5. But yeah,
it's 5.5.
So, but the thing about the Steelers versus the Chiefs, which we're getting a rematch in just a few weeks ago, December 26th, the Chiefs beat the Steelers 36-10. In that game, Roethlisberger threw for 159 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. They let Rudolph close that game out because it was a rout.
Yeah.
Najee had 19 carries for 93 yards and no scores, obviously, because they only had 10 points. So
Yeah.
The Chiefs just did whatever they wanted. It was an ugly football game, and I just don't think that this is going to be any different. I'll take them at -13 because that makes sense to me. I don't think that Tomlin's a good head coach, but I just don't think that the Steelers have the juice to keep up with the Chiefs right now. Chiefs are a playoff team. They can lose 5 games this year, and they're still.
I'll take the
legit.
Bengals.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm swinging with the Bengals.
I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think the Raiders do have a chance.
I think they have a chance, but again,
But I also don't think that the Raiders have the means to either stop Higgins or Chase. And also, one guy that nobody ever talks about, because we always talk about Joe Burrow and the receivers, is Joe Mixon.
yeah,
And I think he's going to have a day.
I think so too, man. I think that's a 2-touchdown day for Joe.
And I think he's like the guy you don't think about. And for the Chiefs Steelers, I think we both know.
Yeah, so if I had to pick the line, I'm definitely going Chiefs -12.5 and Bengals probably -5.5. I don't think it'll be a rout, but I think
We
this is
might disagree
Bengals.
on this next game, though.
So are we talking Pats Bills?
Yeah.
Okay, you go first.
I think the Bills are overrated.
I think they're underrated.
So,
I like the Bills -4.
and I don't even really like the Patriots.
I don't either, but
So,
here's my thing, and maybe this is me neglecting that Bill Belichick is probably the greatest coach of all time. Mac Jones is a rookie. We forget that sometimes because he has played so well, but he's still a rookie. The Bills have big play capability on every down. Whether that's to a receiver or with Josh Allen at his legs. Their biggest weakness is they have no run game. Like
Yes.
none. Zero.
Yeah.
Zilch. However, when they played at Gillette Stadium, they got beat. The Bills got beat by the run game because they couldn't stop the run.
Yeah.
When they played at Orchard Park in Buffalo, they won, and they played really well. This game is going to come down to weather, I think, again. Because if the Bills
Yeah.
can't throw the ball, they
It's
lose.
in Buffalo.
It is in Buffalo. If the Bills can't throw the ball, they're going to lose. Without a doubt. There's no question. Bill Belichick is also an extremely good coach.
Yes.
And this is when it matters.
Yes.
And the Patriots always win when it matters.
Like I said, I don't like the Patriots, but I also think that, like I said, and I could be wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not hating on the Bills. I mean, anything could happen. I just, in my gut, I just think the Patriots.
I'm gonna roll with the Bills. I really am. I'm gonna run with the Bills.
See, I don't hate that. How could you hate that?
I mean, it's so tough, right? So the next game we've got is Philly versus Buccaneers.
Yeah, who you got?
Tampa. For me,
Yep,
I'm taking Tampa.
you're taking Tampa.
However,
However,
the line is 8.5.
yeah,
I will take the Eagles to cover 8.5. If you can get it alternate and you're betting on this game, 10 is probably at minus 170, maybe 150, somewhere in that range. Take it. The Buccaneers are down Richard Sherman again. He's not going to be playing this weekend. They won't have Godwin.
yeah, he's ACL. Yep.
He's done for the season. And that's not to say Cyril Grayson and Scotty Miller can't step up because we've seen this and Brashad Perriman
yeah.
can't step up because we've seen that they can, especially on short yardage plays that turn into 60-yard touchdowns somehow. Grayson is so fast, it's stupid, and Perriman too.
Yeah.
They have Mike Evans. Mike Evans is a little banged up. Gronk is healthy. That's a big deal in the playoffs
That is a
for
very
them.
big deal.
Like if you can get, honestly, if you could take the Eagles at 8.5, maybe alternate spread of 10, and Gronk anytime touchdown score and Leonard Fournette any touchdown score, you're probably looking at plus 1,000 odds, and that's pretty good. I still like the Buccaneers to at least win outright because I don't think the Eagles have it. This is Hurts' first playoff berth, I believe. We'll see. I would love for the Eagles to win because I don't like Brady and I don't like the Buccaneers. I also don't want to play them as a Packer fan. So, naturally, I would prefer to play the Eagles.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think, but I got the Bucs.
Yeah.
I just don't
See, that's the thing is I'm with you on that completely.
see. I think the Eagles' running game is one of the best in the league,
If
But-
it's utilized.
but the Buccaneers also have the best running defense in the league, and I don't think you can keep up with Tom Brady and his offense. Really.
Yeah, it'll depend. See, I think bottlenecking Fournette is going to be the first step to them actually having a chance to win that game because their run defense isn't very good. The Eagles' run defense is not good.
Yeah.
Their pass defense isn't bad.
Playoff Lenny.
Slay
Playoff
has,
Lenny.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see that hashtag again. Darius Slay with the Eagles, he's been very good this year. People have not talked about that.
Yeah.
If he is locking up with someone like Gronk or Evans, which he probably will,
Mm-hmm.
you might see less production than you think. We'll see. But I do like the Buccaneers to win still.
49ers Cowboys.
The line is at 3.
Yeah,
I think
3.
you take the Cowboys at -3 every time there. I know the 49ers are on a run right now, but I don't know. Jimmy Garoppolo probably going to be starting in the playoffs, so wouldn't it be crazy if we saw Garoppolo versus Brady in the playoffs? That'd be fun. But I got to take the Cowboys. They have too much offensive firepower, and their defense gets to people. So, and I hate the Cowboys with a burning passion.
This is the thing. Depends what Dak Prescott shows up. Which one is going to show up?
Is it the Dak that lost to the Cardinals, or is it the Dak that absolutely dismantled other teams this year? I can't think of one off the top of my head, but
Yeah, I don't know either, but I mean,
we know the Cowboys have had some serious blowout
Yes.
victories, and it does
I'll take the 49ers
at 3 or just to win.
just to win.
Okay. Like if we're talking betting odds, that's what I thought it'd be fun to do it that way. But yeah, no, I get it. They're hot right now. The boys are cold. Mike McCarthy's a terrible coach. So I'm just kidding. That's the Packer fan of me.
I know I like Tony Pollard and I like Zeke, but I don't see it.
Well, it'll really depend on
Also, no Michael Gallup.
that too. He's a pivotal part of the team. But I forget his name. Wilson, I think it is.
Cedric Wilson's been pretty good.
He's been pretty solid for them in relief for him, Gallup. But can you bottleneck Debo? Can you stop him from getting 60-yard plays? That's what it comes down to. Kittle's been kind of a
Yeah, the problem
player,
is the teams are having is if you double Debo, you're leaving a one-on-one matchup with Kittle up the middle, which is shredding teams.
Here's the thing. The Cowboys are probably going to put Trayvon Diggs on Debo. And
Overrated.
we love the picks. We do. The interceptions are cool.
Overrated.
But when you look at the amount of yards he gives up, which is number 1 in the NFL
Yes.
against a guy who is the most opportune player down the field in the NFL. Keep in mind, the NFL is the best players in the world.
You will see a happy Stephen A. Smith at Sunday.
I think you might.
I got the 49ers.
Okay. But I'm still taking the Cowboys at 3, but I could see it going either way. What's the next game?
Well, we did the Steelers Chiefs pretty much. We pretty much
laid that all out. There's not much more to talk about. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger said it for us.
This one might be a little interesting.
So
Monday Night Football.
Is it going to be on Monday?
Monday Night Football. 8 o'clock.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Cardinals Rams.
So I want to know what you think.
You want to know what I think?
Yeah, because I still don't know. I've been looking at this all week.
Yep.
I put together a $100,000 parlay for this weekend.
Uh-huh.
And I can't figure out what the hell I want out of this game for a winner. All I know is I got a James Conner and a Cooper Kupp touchdown scorer on there. That's all I know. But what do you think?
Again, same thing with Dak Prescott is what Matt Stafford's going to show up. Is it the Matt Stafford that's going to throw a pick six and 3 interceptions?
Yeah. That's the problem. Now, granted, Arizona's DBs, they've been exposed a lot this year. Buda's still good, but, I mean, that's one guy.
I will say, obviously that defense has not been very good. And I'm talking about the Rams. They've been pretty overrated. But I don't think I can look at all their players on their defense and be like, yeah, they're going to lose. I got the Rams.
Yeah, I think I'm riding the Rams too.
I just don't see the firepower. If you were to ask me 7 weeks ago if the Cardinals versus the Rams, I would have chose the Cardinals all day. Cardinals just have not been the same team they were at the start of the season.
Well, you lose Chase Edmonds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Hopkins had some injuries there. I don't know if he's healthy right now.
Do not believe so. I know J.J. Watt is supposed to.
Watt's coming back, but does that really make that big of a difference? He had 1 sack in like 6 games, so
Rondale
I don't know.
Moore questionable.
I don't know, man. I think you got to ride with the Rams. They're still hot. They're still playing good. What Matt Stafford shows up will dictate a lot.
The only thing I will say about the Rams is home field advantage does not matter. Yeah. If you were at that last game, which obviously we weren't, but it was like 90% 49ers fans. It was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, SoFi's had a struggle to fill up their stadium.
With like
Rams fans.
Rams fans.
Well, Chargers fans don't exist. I'm pretty sure they're a conspiracy from the government. So, anyway.
They all left when Philip Rivers.
Well, I think they all left when the team left San Diego.
No, what I meant was like Philip Rivers has how many kids?
The whole 14 of them.
That was half
their fan base. But yes, that's wild card weekend though. And it could be a very interesting
Bengals,
weekend.
Patriots, Bucks, 49ers, Chiefs, Rams.
You should throw 10 on that, and I'll throw 10 on mine.
I have $10.
Well, the power's about to go out. No.
So you said before we started this, you had something to say about the Packers?
Yeah. So Green Bay loses to Detroit in Week 17.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying, "Oh, they lost to the worst team, one of the worst teams in the NFL."
Yeah, I can say that, but
Is that how you feel? It's like that they played poorly and that they shouldn't be.
I was talking about the Colts.
Oh,
losing to the Jags.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they did lose to the worst team in the NFL. We lost to the second worst team in the NFL.
We lost to the worst team.
Yeah, Green Bay's first half. We miss a field goal again, an extra point.
Shocker.
Yeah, in a stadium on a perfect hole. It's still not Mason Crosby's fault though. Don't ask anybody else that. I'm getting kind of tired of it. Just saying. I have been saying that we need to cut him all year when I get angry, but I mean, who else is going to be better right now? And he's also clutch sometimes. So
Sometimes, yeah.
hard to argue with that. But so you're down 13-14 going into the half, I believe it was. It might have been 13-17.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Because I think they got a field goal.
Yeah.
But none of our starters come out in the second half.
Right.
Jones was out. Devondre Campbell was out. So even those guys were gone. We are already missing Jair. Bach did play. Josh Myers did play in the first half. There's a lot of guys missing. Not using that as an excuse to lose to the Lions, but it's a game that literally didn't matter. And I think when you consider the fact that Green Bay was playing for nothing other than a victory, which victories matter in football. Momentum is important. I get that. I don't think you get to make this as big of a deal as people are making it, though. This is like the Super Bowl for Lions fans.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it bothers me that we lost. I won't lie.
Right.
Does it bother me to the point that I'm like, man, my team sucks? No. They're the number one seed in the NFC for a reason. They beat some good freaking football teams along the way. And, we're getting healthy. Jair is back at practice. Bakhtiari's back. Josh Myers, who was one of the top-rated centers in the NFL before his injury, per Pro Football Focus, he's back. Zadarius Smith is back at practice. Devondre Campbell, one of the best tacklers in the NFL and one of the best players on our roster, period, this year. He's going to be back for the divisional round. Did I said Zadarius Smith, right? Oh, Whitney Merciless, a late season signing who had a couple good games with us. He's going to be back. People thought his season was going to be over. He tore his bicep. Sounds like they just activated him off IR today. He'll be back. And you think about it and you're like, wow, that's a lot of players. Yeah, it is. Like, Green Bay is a good football team without those players, but they're a great football team with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people are like, oh, you just lost to the Lions, you're going to be one and done. We might be. That's football. You lose to bad teams sometimes, you lose to good teams sometimes, and you lose to teams that you should have beat regardless. That's football. And that is the beauty of professional football in the playoffs, is that it's not hockey or basketball.
Yeah.
There's not a round of 7.
Yeah.
You get one shot.
You get one shot, that's it.
And if you mess it up, that's on you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Besides the Bucks, because you kind of already said that would be a team obviously you would prefer not to play.
Yeah, I'd prefer them to lose.
And they're the second seed, so you can only really play them in the conference.
In the conference championship.
Is there a team you can think of, so Dallas, Rams, Cardinals, 49ers, Eagles, that you prefer not to play in the divisional?
Out of all those teams?
Yeah.
Dallas.
Because Dallas is the third seed, so you couldn't. I don't think you could
play them either.
I think you could play the Rams. Yeah, Rams, Cardinals, 49ers, Eagles.
Honestly, of those teams,
like a mismatch, I'm just saying, like,
preference-wise, I'd probably rather not play the Rams. Just, I think that there's more, their offense and defense is more well-rounded than those other teams. I'm not afraid of the 49ers offense that much.
Right.
I'm really not. That could come back to bite me in the ass, but that's just how I feel.
I mean, this year in playoffs, we've pretty much already know that anything could happen.
It's the weirdest year in sports for football. Like, honestly, what a strange season.
It really has been.
I mean, from top to bottom, the injuries, like the Ravens lost like 5 running backs. Like, it's just been a weird year. But
remember when I was looking at it, I don't know what your predictions were, but my prediction was that the Seattle Seahawks would win the division.
I think I picked the Rams or the Cardinals.
They were last. And then I picked the Baltimore Ravens to win the division, and they finished last. But you picked the
I
Browns,
picked
and
the
they
Browns, the land. They finished last in their division.
finished third to last. Well, they're basically tied with the Ravens, but
Yeah.
they're both 8-9. But it's so funny looking back.
Well, that's like our post-season, like, way too early NFL honors video,
Yeah.
which if you haven't watched, honestly, give it a watch because that was before the season kicked off. It was really fun to do that one. It's like a 20-minute watch. It's pretty good. It's probably one of our better videos, to be honest. That was like I only think I got one right, to be honest, and that would be Joe Burrow as comeback player of the year.
Yeah.
I think
I did predict the Patriots to go to the playoffs.
Yeah, you did. And I had kind of been against you on that. I wasn't really a big Mac Jones fan, but he proved me wrong for sure this year. It's just been a weird football year.
It has.
But you know, I feel like we say that every year. I feel like you're like, wow, what a weird season. Green Bay has been Green Bay. The Colts weren't what we thought they were. And then sometimes they were, and sometimes they weren't.
Which is why the record is 9-8, because sometimes they were and sometimes they weren't.
So it is one of those seasons where you look back on it and you're like, wow, there was a lot of good football we watched. Like, honestly, I watched a lot of good football this year.
I mean, when you're a 4 seed and you win the division for the Bengals and you're 10-7.
Yeah, and honestly, the Bengals, I like them, man. I do.
You like their defense?
Jesse Bates is great. A couple other guys on the defense are pretty good. I just have some questions about their ability to get to the quarterback and
Because if
cover.
you give Hunter Renfrow time to get open,
He's a great route runner,
you know?
or as the announcers would say, he's sneaky fast,
Yeah.
and it has nothing to do with his skin color.
Anyways.
He does have a receding hairline. He kind of looks like he's 40 years old, but
Yeah, well, he was like a fifth year.
it would
sixth
stress
year
you out to
senior
play
at
for the Raiders too.
Clemson.
That's true.
Hey, I did pick him up in fantasy, though.
Yeah, he balled out for you.
Balled
for a while
out
there.
for me, dude. He averaged like 20 points.
Yeah. No, I do have my reservations about the Bengals, but I think they're better than a lot of people have given them credit for this
I
year.
think that we are. We said this at the beginning of the year with football, is that we're in like a changing state because, like you said, like
It's the transition phase.
because like if you look at it, for example, like Miami. Okay, they finished the 9th. They were in 9th place in the AFC. They started terrible. I think they're like what, the first team to like win 7, lose 7
Yes.
straight.
Yeah.
So obviously they finished hot, but they still didn't make the playoffs because you can't lose, 7 straight at the beginning of the year. But then you got the Chargers, who are hot and cold all year. Justin Herbert, probably the guy moving forward. I think we could all.
And I was a doubter. I started off the season by saying I didn't like him, and I thought his numbers were inflated.
Then you got the
but
Browns, who
Browned the bed.
apparently they want to keep Baker Mayfield as their guy.
Well, I got questions on Baker. So we had talked about earlier in the season how about you were out on Baker pretty early, and I was like, no, like give him time, and he is dealing with this injury, and I get that. He looked bad.
Mm-hmm.
He looked bad, real bad, all the time, real bad. But last season he looked pretty good. Like he looked solid. He's still got a year on his contract. Who's better than Baker right now? Who are you going to bring in that you don't have to pay an arm and a leg that's better than Baker? It's the Carson Wentz situation, but just worse.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of talk about it like that. You're not going to bring in a guy who knows the system already, that has a good relationship with Stefanski already,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be, and it has a good relationship with the players, right? Let him get healthy. Let him play another season. If it doesn't work out, move on. I honestly think that's where we're at with him right now. This is his 4th year. We'll see what he's made of. If he wants a contract, he'll play for it.
How do you feel about the next team that was going to bring out 12 seed was the Ravens? The only reason I bring it up because they're like teams that are 9-8, 8-9, and they're all close until you get to the bottom 3. I mean, the Broncos were 7-10, so they're kind of like a little out there, but the AFC was always like neck and neck. Like you didn't know The Colts went from like a 5th seed to like a 9th seed in like a matter of losing one game. That's how close it was.
It was so hectic and unpredictable.
But how do you feel about the backup for the Ravens?
So yeah, that's a conversation we kind of have to have.
You know, because he balled out.
Tyler Huntley.
Yeah.
So Lamar Jackson is going to be looking for a contract, and he's going to want a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Huntley played really well.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar Jackson-esque, some would say. They almost beat the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
They played really well against other teams. They, barring the Steelers game, they played really well with him at the helm. I don't think those losses are on Tyler Huntley.
Right.
So, do you pay Lamar Jackson? I think people are like, well, that's a crazy conversation, but talk about money. His kid's going to take barely anything compared to what Lamar is going to be asking for. The thing about that is then you have the risk of, well, maybe it was a fluke. Maybe he had just 4 or 5 good games and that was it. Maybe he's just a Ryan Fitzpatrick. Why do I always call him Matthew Fitzpatrick? Ryan Fitzpatrick kind of guy. Like, steps in, wins you a few games, calls it a day.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? I like him, though.
I do like him. That's a good point because, I mean, I'm not saying Lamar Jackson's going to be a bust. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying,
the
like,
MVP. Like,
yeah, exactly. But, like, what if you pay him enough money, like a Kirk Cousins deal? But like
now you're locked into him for 5 or 6 years at a $200 million contract that
you have to eat. You have to eat that contract
that
up.
Nobody's gonna want to trade for him if he starts sucking.
Yeah,
that's kind of the game.
That's the same thing with and we haven't seen it like lately, but that was a thing with running backs.
Yeah,
getting paid $14 million a year, but now it's like running back by committee now.
Well, right. A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones.
Like Tony Pollard, Zeke.
Yeah, guys like that. And A.J. Dillon was a top 4 ranked running back.
And I think you're going to see a lot more Foreman next year with Henry.
I do,
too. Don't think they're going to give Henry the ball 40 times a game.
Here's a question for you. Henry is practicing. Do we see him play in the divisional round?
I do.
Do you think so?
I do.
I don't know. I really don't. Depends on where he's at with rehabbing and everything. Obviously, if he's practicing, he can put full weight on it and stuff again. But do you think they lean on him as much if they don't have to?
I don't think that...
Because you can't give him 30 carries a game again.
No.
That's a foot injury. If it's an arm injury that sidelines him, yeah. Fuck it.
Remember Todd Gurley?
Excuse me, but like, you know what I mean? Throw him back out there.
Todd Gurley had a knee injury, and where is he now?
He had arthritis in his knees out of college, too.
He was a stud, though, dude.
Yeah. Back in the day.
Stud.
Feels like that wasn't so long ago. It was like 2018. But like, you got these injuries to your lower extremities. That's dangerous for a running back's career. So you rush him back and he breaks his foot again or like messes that tendon up or whatever it was. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's bad. And then he's rehabbing for another 6 to 10 weeks. And then he's, that's not good for a player's mental health. Even if they like, it's almost better if they lose the game and he gets hurt.
Yeah.
Because if they win, then they have to go forward without him, and then
I got a good question for you.
That's not true, but you know what I mean. Like for him personally, it's like now I'm sitting on the sidelines and I can't help my team again.
Right.
But yeah.
So we did the NFL honors.
Yeah.
Like who we thought was going to be this and this.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of like reverse it in a way.
Who do we think now?
Who do you think in the AFC or the NFC? You can do both, but I want your main one. Was the most disappointing team?
Cleveland.
That we thought like we're going to go to the playoffs, like make a pretty good run. So AFC you have Browns.
I think Cleveland, yeah.
Who do you have for NFC?
Seattle.
That
was a bummer to watch them this year. And Wilson sucked. When he was healthy, he sucked.
When he was healthy, he sucked, yeah.
And when he was injured and he came back, he still sucked, and he sucked since then. Like he sucked this year. There's no sugar that you can put on that makes this taste better. Sorry, Seattle fans. Wilson sucked this year.
Yeah.
And he has weapons, so it's not excusable.
Yeah, DK and Lockett.
And the offensive line was actually not like god awful.
Yeah, like he's always running for his life.
It wasn't good, but it wasn't as bad as it could be, or it has been. So then you ask yourself, like, what happened?
Right.
But I think that's my two.
My NFC would be Washington.
Yeah, I was really high on Washington.
Yeah. I think my other one would be the Colts for the AFC.
Yeah, that's
You know,
gonna
I
be tough
mean,
for you.
you look at it and you're like, yeah, well, they were 9-8, so they're above 500. But I mean, starting 1-4, obviously, that sucked. But then you go on an 8-2 run in 10 games, and then for some reason your team just doesn't show up the last 2 weeks. Dude, they were 7-3 in the conference, and then all of a sudden they're 7-5. If they win those last 2 games, they have the best record in the conference.
Man, where did they go wrong?
It just doesn't.
And not beating Seattle in week 2 was a dagger, and we just didn't
One.
know it yet. Or was it week 1?
They lost to Seattle week 1, lost to the Rams in week 2 by 3 points.
We just didn't know it was going to be as bad as it was when they lost to them. Because that was unbeknownst to us at the time, that was a bad football team.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost Chris Carson, they lost Wilson, they lost here and there and there and there. But speaking of the Seattle Seahawks, Geno Smith just got arrested recently.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
Where do you think Russell goes next year?
That's tough. So we talked about how Watson might end up in Denver. He's another favorite to go there. But I don't know. Do you think it's all fluff with him in Seattle?
Well, that's what the case was last year.
I know.
Everyone was saying he
They're
was
like,
going to
he's
get
gonna
traded.
get traded. The Bears offered 2 first-round picks and Khalil Mack for him. And is it fluff, do you think? You think it's just a media thing? Kind of how they've been doing with Aaron Rodgers, where it was like, he said he's going to sit out of the Super Bowl if they make it in protest. And he goes on McAfee the next Tuesday and is like, who the hell? Why would I ever? This is a guy who clearly cares about his legacy as a player and wants to win more than anything. Yeah. He's like, that is the dumb... verbatim, he's like, that is the stupidest shit I've ever heard.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers pretty much probably going to get back-to-back MVPs. If not, he's in the conversation, obviously.
It's him or Brady, let's be real, because it is a quarterback's award. People are going to say Brady because of the numbers. He's got 5,000 passing yards and 41 touchdowns or whatever. To Rodgers, 37. But the efficiency of Aaron Rodgers is unmatched in the NFL. I'm not trying to, I don't know how you want me to phrase that appropriately, but you know what I'm trying to get at. But it is, if you watch Aaron Rodgers play football, you know his game.
Yeah.
He's not going to throw the ball to a defender. 4 interceptions this season. 2 of them came in week 1. He's thrown 2 interceptions in 16 weeks of football. And one of them was a tipped pass, I'm pretty sure.
Most likely, yeah.
So, I mean, you look at that and you go, okay, yeah, that's really good. 37-4. You look at the touchdown. I think it was either last weekend against the Lions. I think it was talking about percentages, touchdown interception percentages all time with a certain amount of throws or whatever in a season, and he has the top 5 spots. He's just sitting there alone.
Yeah.
That is crazy. So tough to say, but I think he is the MVP.
I know you're a Packers fan, so
you're allowed to disagree.
But this is my thing, right?
We disagree all the time. We just get mad and don't talk about it after we disagree.
If I'm a Packer fan and I'm looking at it right now, right? You have a once in a lifetime or one generational player in Aaron Rodgers, right?
Legitimately.
One of the greatest of all time.
At least top 5.
He doesn't have much years left. Obviously, we have no idea his decision next year, but we're not really going to focus on that right now.
He's also incredibly vague about that anyway.
Yes.
It's not worth asking him anymore because he's just not going to tell you. But go on.
But we do know that, let's say he does stay for a year or 2, right?
Sure.
He retires in 2 years.
Sure. 39, 40 years old.
The Packers are still running out of time with him.
Yeah. This year is, and we've talked about it on the show before.
You've won back-to-back 13 win seasons. I think it's actually back-to-back-to-back.
3 13 win seasons.
Because I know
back to
Matt
back.
LaFleur has won.
Matt LaFleur hasn't had a losing season, and he's
Right.
never had less than 13 wins in a season.
Yes.
That's crazy good.
Yes.
It's the best of all time
Mhm.
right now in the coach's first 3 seasons. So win a Super Bowl.
Yes, exactly.
So do something with it.
Yes.
Because as a Packer fan, it is exhausting to watch my team losing the championship every year.
Because, I mean,
Seattle 2014, Atlanta 2016. I think it was, what was the other one? Was it last year? Was the last one, or was there another one?
for what?
Championship losses.
I think it was back-to-back NFC championships losses.
I'm trying to remember.
So I think one of them was to the 49ers.
Yes.
And one of them was to the Bucks.
2019 or 2020 49ers, 2020 or 2019 49ers, 2021 or 2020 Buccaneers.
Yes.
That's 4 times in a decade. Less than a decade.
Mm-hmm.
They've been a game away from the Super Bowl in a lot of the times they probably could have won. Last year, if Green Bay goes to the Super Bowl, they probably would have dominated the Chiefs. Against the Patriots in 2016, Green Bay probably wouldn't have let the Patriots put up 31 points in the second half.
Yeah.
Against Seattle, Green Bay probably wouldn't have thrown the ball on third and short, second
Would you
and short.
agree that once Rodgers leaves, the Green Bay Packers are going to be on a rebuild? Because that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Gutekunst drafts extremely well for the most part. Look how good Dylan is. People clowned us for drafting Dylan in the second round. He has proven he is more than worth that pick, in my opinion. There's other players that he's drafted, and I'm not going to go through the list.
I just mean
I'm a
you're
little
not
tired,
going to probably get a quarterback that's
No.
going to fill the shoes that Aaron Rodgers has.
And people talk about, well, Rodgers' first season wasn't very good. It's like, yeah, no, it wasn't, but he showed glimpses of that ability. I haven't seen it with Jordan Love yet. Give him a season, right? We'll see what we got. I don't like him right now. When Rodgers leaves / retires / whatever, joins Jeopardy, I don't know.
Right.
Green Bay will rebuild. But not to the same effect that the Jaguars are rebuilding.
Well, right. They're not going to just absolutely.
They still have talent.
Right.
They still have guys. Adams will probably leave with Rodgers. Adams is probably the number 1 receiver in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
They probably go to the same place if they can help it.
Right.
So then you look at that and you go, shit, well, whoever gets those two is going to be
But it was the one thing that, and I don't want to start talking about Rodgers leaving because that wasn't really.
Well, we went on a 30-minute conversation about the Colts, so we'll talk about the Packers for a bit.
Well, I just meant we have, like you said, we have no idea what he could do. He could go to Colts for all we know because he doesn't talk about anything.
He's also got a great relationship with McAfee.
It's true.
Think about that. If he goes to Indy and they bring Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers in, could you imagine how good that football team would be? Logan can't even fathom it.
I don't even want to think about that.
Because it gets your hopes up a little bit, probably.
Yeah.
But,
I've already seen the rumors about Russell Wilson already, so.
I don't like that fit either, to be honest. I don't like Wilson that much.
Okay, but the thing is,
Even after having great seasons.
Let's say you bring Rodgers in, right? Without Adams, who's Rodgers going to throw the ball to?
Well, that is
Pittman.
Yeah,
Is Pittman your guy?
MPJ, baby.
Is Pittman your guy?
No, I don't know. But it's just if Rodgers leaves, Green Bay goes into a light rebuild. There'll probably be a couple 8 and 9, 9 and 8 seasons there.
Just your 13-win seasons.
Maybe you bring in a veteran, right? Maybe you bring in a guy like that if Rodgers leaves. I don't know. Shoot, think of somebody. Maybe you bring somebody in like that, like a Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's probably retiring soon too, though.
Yeah, probably.
But just someone to journeyman for a
Minshew.
little bit. Sure, I wouldn't mind that. I think he's a Steeler after this year, though.
That would make sense.
Or Garoppolo for Pittsburgh. That's my guess. But because Tomlin's a lot of Steelers fans want them to draft Pickett from Pitt. Because it's like, oh my God, he played at Pitt. He'd be perfect fit for the Steelers,
Yeah.
But the reality is Tomlin probably wants an established quarterback who
Yeah.
knows the NFL well and is ready to play.
And he probably wants to get new receivers.
He likes Johnson, but
I was saying Claypool.
Juju and Claypool. Tell you what, I did see a Claypool TikTok that made me laugh the other
Hey,
day.
Juju is practicing.
I saw that.
Not confirmed he's gonna play, but he's just.
It would be very beneficial to them if he played, but he won't. Why? Ben Roethlisberger said it. We're just gonna go out there and have some fun. So I fully expect to see like a flea flicker,
some
the
trick
first
plays.
play.
Some trick plays.
That's Tomlin's game though. He'll probably try to play to win,
Oh, absolutely.
like legit football. But
I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Najee Harris carry the ball 50 times.
I want to see Naj throw the ball. Let's see it. Let's see it
Naj.
happen. Some Naj, as the Steelers would say. Steelers fans, give Naj the ball. But yeah, no,
Going back to the Packers.
yeah, Green Bay, baby.
I know we both said it. It's Super Bowl or bust.
It is. It's like that's what I mean. It's 13-3, 13.
It's not even. I don't even think it's
14,
going to the
13
Super
and 4.
Bowl. I think it's going to the Super Bowl and winning.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like a winning record is cool. Sustained success in the NFL is hard to find.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful thing. Even if you don't win Super Bowls, that's cool. Like being able to watch good football every year, don't take it for granted, right? Do something with it though. Let's if not for the Packers, for the fans who fill a ice cold stadium in December and January every year, do it for them. Do it for somebody because like it is heartbreak after heartbreak. And I know you're a Colts fan and it's been a while since your team has been in the position to go to the promised land. I'm not like crapping on the Colts. I like the
Right.
Colts. They're my number 2 team now.
I mean, I've seen them win a Super Bowl in my life, so.
Yeah, and I've seen the Packers win a Super Bowl, but it's so long ago, and I was 10.
I'll do that was like 2006.
Yeah, you were even younger.
7.
You know, I was 10 years old, and I barely remember it. I remember the final drive, and that was like huge.
I remember we had a late interception that sealed the game,
It just
which was wild.
it's kind of heartbreaking because like you want to see your team succeed every year.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, it doesn't happen.
Right.
That's why I'm so tired of Brady Super Bowls, and I'm getting burnt out on Chiefs Super Bowls. And yes, I'm a Packer fan, so obviously I want my Packers to go there. And if they could go 3 times in 4 years, I would never complain. I get it. You know what I mean? Green Bay needs this one.
They do.
Rodgers needs this one. Adams has earned this one. Packers fans in 2015 clamoring for us to cut Devontae Adams. They don't deserve this one. But everybody else, you know, everybody's saying Rodgers was washed when he was injured and he had some struggles and they didn't have very good talent around him. Some of them were really good, but like a lot of players went by the wayside because they just couldn't get the job done. They weren't good players. I get it. You know, a guy puts up 22 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. You go, yeah, that's not great, but it's also not horrible. Like, we're talking about him like he's washed up, but he still literally had a 11-1 touchdown in like ratio.
Right.
I mean, Green Bay needs this one. That's as simple as it gets. I could ramble about it, but they just need this one. And if it's going to happen, it's going to be this year. Because honestly, the NFC is good.
The
I think the
NFC is good,
Packers-
and I do feel pretty confident that it will be a rematch of last year.
Yeah,
I could see it.
I could. I just think the Packers are better than the Buccaneers right
Because
now. And I'm going to say that confidently. Green Bay is a better football team than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. They are. And I think if we still had Tunyon, that wouldn't be even a debate because he's such a good blocker and he can catch the ball. It sucks that we lost him, but that's just football, unfortunately. Especially in a contract year for him. I feel bad for him. I hope we sign him, but money's tight, so we'll see. That's another thing.
Money is very, very tight for the Packers.
So, but that's the other thing. This is like Friday Night Lights for the Packers, right? The end of Friday Night Lights, where it's like they shows the stills of them and what they ended up doing in their lives. This is the Green Bay Packers season right now. It's you win the Super Bowl, and it's gonna be like, and then Aaron Rodgers got a job at the local oil refinery.
Family Feud.
Yeah.
Jeopardy.
Yeah, like he became the host of Jeopardy, and then it'll be a picture of Adams with a smile on his face with his baby, and it'll be like, Devontae Adams went to the Raiders to spite everyone. Like, it's This is our Friday Night Lights. Don't miss the chance to win the game. We got this. Like, don't screw it up. And that's the thing is, I've said it all season. I've said it all off season last year. Winning fixes a lot of issues. Rodgers likes his teammates. He loves them. Bakhtiari, he's signed on a contract. Bach and him are like buds. Do you really want to leave Bakhtiari? Do you really want to leave all these guys behind that you've built a rapport with over the years? You know, I get it. It might be time. But if anything, this season and last has proved that even as he looks older, he doesn't play older. So people who are saying, well, he needs to retire or he's old. Brady's 44, playing at a high level. Rodgers is 38. He was 38. He just turned 38 in December. He might look older than Brady, but he's playing just as good.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
But I think that's where we should probably end this. This has been a long one tonight. Happy to get back to it though. It's been too long. It just feels like it's been forever.
One thing we're gonna try to learn to do, which we haven't really figured that out yet, is to like live stream.
Yeah, so we got a couple people who want to come in and talk.
They want to like do like the phone interviews and stuff, which we could do, which would be dope, you know.
And maybe we'll have to share some mics and get some people in the same room as us. We'll see what we got going on with that kind of stuff too. But it would be really fun to get, I know Kyle had talked to us about coming on and talking about Michigan football a little bit.
Yeah.
Where they're at with the quarterback situation, things like that. It would be really fun to get into some debate stuff. And maybe that would be something we could do as bonus content. We'll see what happens. But I am really excited to see where this goes. So
we are back.
Friggin' hope so.
We are back.
It's Thursday right now. Hopefully start recording Wednesday or Tuesday so we can have it up before weekend. But with the NFL season coming to a close, other sports are going to take precedent, and we can kind of record whenever we got time, which would be nice. So,
well, the goal is that we'll record twice a week, mainly on Sundays. Sundays will be like our day that we'll like.
Well, you and I usually watch sports on Sunday.
Exactly.
It's like
that's why we're trying to
day,
figure out how we can like live record it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and another thing I want to do is like with football. Oh my God. And it would be kind of funny if we could just do it like you and I in the booth. But like, I think that would be so fun just to commentate.
Imagine
games.
me reacting to the Colts Jags game.
I think we're gonna have to get some beer for those games because that might be the only way to get through those. But
at least we don't have to worry about a Colts Packers Super Bowl.
That was a concern for a little bit.
That was a very big concern.
Because honestly, I don't think I could have stayed in the same room with you. And I'm an intense football fan, and you know that.
Yeah. You think?
I love football. I am the Gardner Minshew of loving football.
I don't even know if I want to be there for the Bucs Packers NFC Championship game. If that does
There's
happen.
2 games in my life that I've cried during. That last championship was not one of them. But there are 2 games I have cried during. 2011, divisional round. New York takes us out. 2014, championship round. Seattle. Brandon Bosco stick fingers.
Bosco stick.
That's what I call him. I feel bad for him because so many Packers fans sent him death threats and everything, and that's just not cool.
Yeah.
But like that, we could have beat the Patriots that year, and it was just it hurts. But yeah, that about does it for tonight.
Yeah.
I think we got some good conversation in there. So
Oh yeah.
all right, we love you guys.
Wait, Dawson has one last thing. I know I always do this, but you gotta tell us your parlay.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on.
You gotta come on.
I can't come up with
It's
a
the bonus round.
bonus round. Dawson's
I know I always do this, but like I don't even know it, so it's gonna be news to me.
big play parlays. What did I order from Amazon?
Dawson bets of the week.
Yeah, don't ever. Okay, if I tell you I feel good about something, never listen to me.
Usually he does when he wins. He's like, "Oh yeah, I got a $10 credit from FanDuel."
It literally every time I get bonus money is when I win, but when I put my
Yes.
own money in is when I lose.
Also, if the Red Wings win the division or something, then I win like $800, but they're currently like
6th.
sad.
They're a 17 and 4, I believe.
Yeah, and they also play in like pretty good.
Okay, so
Yikes.
deleted it, but I can put it back together very quickly. So just riff for a minute, Logan. Hold on.
Yeah, boys. So I think Carson Wentz, is going to be on our team next year. I don't think they're going to do anything. I know we already talked about that, but Dawson, do you think that the Lions are going to win 6 games next year?
I'm calling for a 5-win season, depending on
season?
depends on how this offseason goes, though.
Do you think if they get Hutchinson?
It helps, right?
It helps.
Pass rush is important, but I just don't know that.
Jerk off.
Yeah, but that's not like I just don't know that the team itself has enough weapons. Amon-Ra St. Brown, great.
Oh yeah, he's a stud.
Yeah, and I said that, like, honestly, I did. Not to be like, I said this, but, like, I really genuinely think he is so good. He is so good. He had nobody to throw to him at USC. Like, nobody. I can't even remember was it Sloter or whatever was his quarterback? I can't remember.
I do not know.
But it just... You look at the games and you go, okay, so they played close games with some really good football teams. And
yeah.
And I don't know that they're a bad football team. They're not a good football team, but they are not that bad. And I really do think that Dan Campbell has a group of guys who really love him as a coach.
Yeah.
But time will tell. All right, so we got a 15-leg parlay.
Yep.
$10 bet, right?
How much did that win you?
Hold on, we're getting there.
Okay.
So the first leg is Leonard Fournette and Rob Gronkowski, anytime touchdown score, and the Eagles at plus 8.5.
Playoff Lenny, baby.
Ezekiel Elliott and Deebo Samuel, anytime touchdown score, Dallas -3. Cooper Kupp, James Conner, anytime touchdown score. I'm not at liberty to bet on who's going to win that game.
No.
Buffalo -4, Damian Harris, anytime touchdown score. And these are parlay plus now, so you can do multiple same game parlays on FanDuel. So if you don't have a choice betting
we
site,
are not sponsored
we are
by
not,
FanDuel.
but I love their interface. I find it a lot easier to use than DraftKings. Personally, I still use DraftKings occasionally because they give me credit. But so then I got the Bengals -4.5, Joe Mixon and Josh Jacobs, anytime touchdown scores. Kansas City -12.5, Najee, anytime touchdown score.
Najee.
And that's it. This is a really big one that I just threw together, but honestly, it could happen. $10 bet wins you $825,000.
What is it?
That's the $10. That's the bet.
Well, you already said everything.
Yeah,
800,000.
$825,000. FanDuel will not allow you to bet enough money to make that $1 million bet, though. So they will not pay out more than $999,000, apparently.
Yikes.
Well, we're going to go for it. What is it, 1202 to put it there? I'm trying to get it up to 999,000. But yeah, those are all bets I like as singles as well. But if you want to play with me and throw $12 on it, try to win a cool $1 million, let's go for it. Let's give her a shot.
Obviously, you haven't heard of taxes.
Yeah, that ends up being about $500,000 when all's said and done. But
Uncle Sam wants his money.
yes, he does. Believe me, my tax is gonna be really crappy this year. I won $3,000 last year in bets, so
Yikes.
yeah. I was looking at that. I was like, oh damn, I'm better at this than I thought sometimes.
Yikes.
Yeah. So we'll see what I pay out on that. That's probably all my tax money.
Probably.
But yeah, those are all bets I like as singles. You don't have to go with me, but if you do, maybe we win big together. Maybe we bankrupt FanDuel this coming weekend. We'll see what happens. So we love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Again, sorry it's been so long, but have a great weekend and watch some football. Yeah?
Go Patriots.
Go Bills. Anyway,
Deuces.
deuces.